Hey darling friends of the internet, I hope you're doing good. I'm taking you with me to show you what I've been reading and what I've been watching, both movies and TV shows, so grab something to drink and let's going with the first episode of Screen and Shelf Adventures. Everything will be spoiler free, by the way. This is the first time reading Normal People, but I can't be the only one. I just hear Paul Mescal's voice, especially when he says I don't know. I can hear Mescal's voice. It just is inside my head with every line. It's not a bad thing. It's quite funny to me because normally I don't have voices assigned to characters when I read. I'm currently watching Daisy Jones and the Six. I always read on my commute to and from work. A quick stop at home before heading to the cinema. Very important, my cup of tea. I truly appreciate going to the cinema alone, even when I bawl my eyes out. I watched One Life the other day and it was a treat of a good film. It's based on a true story about the British humanitarian Nicholas Winston, and the story alternates between Anthony Hopkins as a almost 80-year-old Winston, where he's reminiscing about his past, and then almost 30-year-old Flynn Rider playing Winston. Let me tell you that Flynn and Hopkins truly embody the same person in this film. It is incredible to watch each their take on this character, but still playing the same. I don't know why I'm extra hung up on it in this film, but I just love watching two actors playing the same characters and weaving in and out of this story. I had expected this film to be good, but I was still caught off guard by the cinematography. I had expected it to be very figuratively, very show and tell. The story wasn't just so literary, it was also conveyed very beautiful through the chosen frames and the camera. And I know people will be like, but Laura, they always do that in films. I'm like, yes, but there is movies and then there's movies. And I kind of expected this to be a movie and not a movie. And it was well on its way to being a movie. And especially, again, the acting did the job here. But it was my oversight that I hadn't expected it to be a movie. And I was really happy that it was. I cried throughout most of this film, but I will say the rest of the cinema was sobbing at the 80-minute mark. I just watched Aftersun, which is a movie about Sophie who goes on a vacation with her father. The movie is set to be her looking back on this vacation and her memories, both real and imagined, and how she can reconcile the father she knew with the man she didn't. The idea of this movie and the trailer really caught my eye. And after watching the film, it held up, kind of and kind of not. It had some amazingly beautiful shots, both at the hotel and when they went on outings. Like, it was a very beautiful, quiet movie. But there was a lot of things on set, and that could have worked. But in my opinion, it didn't work because we also got clips from what is supposed to be the present, or like mental battles that she has with her father, or like this image of her father. And those scenes for me just felt a bit jarring. Also because they were so different than the rest of the movie. So my problem was mostly how jarring those interceptive scenes were of her imagining fights, or like her image of her father fighting with the father that she had. As you can see, I'm a bit confused, or not confused, but again, I don't know how to describe those scenes, and I didn't really feel like they made sense. Like, this movie, if it had just been this vacation, all those things on set could have been there, but it just didn't work in the setup that it had for me. And again, so my problem lies with that the rest of the film was so delicate and so beautiful, and the images shown. And while I'm talking about this, I do realize that might have been the whole point of those jarring scenes, to simply shake it up and to really knock home the fact that this vacation was both amazing but also imagined, in the sense that her father was not always the father that she had on this vacation. So yeah, I get why those scenes were there. I just don't really agree with them being there. Both actors were so good, and the characters' experiences at the resort and on this holiday were so tangible and so well acted. So it's kind of a movie that both left me unsatisfied but also was a really good watch. And again, I do think that could have been the whole point of this movie, because what is a family vacation if not actually really good but also a bit dissatisfying? I finished Normal People, and I am equally torn by the book as I was the series. I watched the series under the pandemic, like most of the internet, and it took me this long to pick it up, and it has nothing to do with the writing, it has nothing to do with the story. I really like those, and I really like that, and I like the way it was told, but there's something so unlikable about both of these characters, and I saw a lot of people on Goodreads saying that they cared for them without knowing why. I am not sure I cared for them. I was just watching a train wreck on the sidelines. To give it credit, I felt like there were some very human emotions and some very human observations that they did throughout the years, and I did really like those. I did like the book ending better than the series. I felt more positive in this one. It's a long time since I watched the series, but as I remember it, I felt very, very negative, or like very demotivated and very sad watching it, where this is more positive. It is people trying to do their best with what they got, while having each other, trying not to hurt each other, but hurting each other. So all in all, a really good book, but not one that will stick in my mind. It's been read now, and I think it will just be read. It will not like linger, it will not soup around in my brain. I also think it will be one of those that I give to a friend as a gift, so it can move on in the world, because I don't think it will be happy on my shelf. I am not sure yet. I say this as if the books have feelings. I do feel like picking up another book by Rooney, simply because I need to figure out what her style is, what her characters are like, if it's just me and her that don't fit that well, or if it's just me and this book that doesn't fit that well. Poppy and Alex, two best friends, 10 summer vacations. Is this the summer they fall in love? They have nothing in common. She's a wild child, he wears khakis, she has a wanderlust that is unstoppable, and he would rather stay home with a book. A fateful car ride from college ends up making them best friends, even though they have those differences. And she lives in New York and he lives in their small hometown, and they've been taking these trips every summer. But then 2 years ago something happened and they haven't been since. But this is the last chance to see if there's something there and to lay everything on the table. I, like the rest of the internet, has fallen in love with Emily Henry's books, and You and Me on Vacation is no exception. It was everything I expected and more. Like, why is it always more with Emily Henry? I loved it. I love the way she writes her characters. They're just so silly in just the right way, and you sit there reading thinking it's almost too unserious, but then you look up and realize that everyone you know is kind of like her characters. And I just love that way of falling in love with life while reading her books, and I can't wait to read more and just fall in love with her world even more. Clashing empires, forbidden romance, and a long-lost queen destined to save her people. Romantic fantasy inspired by Persian culture. To all the world, Elisa is a servant, but she is actually a secret jinn queen hiding in plain sight. The Crown Prince Cameron has heard the prophecies of how his king will die, but he did not think it would be the girl with the strange eyes that would be part of this prophecy. The girl he can't put out of his mind will soon uproot his kingdom and all the world. I swallowed book 1 and 2 up while working. They were so good and addictive. Books are narrated by Kate Reading, and I really liked her reading voice, so it was just such a treat. The characters are very silly, but the world very serious, and I really liked how that played out in the story. And I will not say I forgot that Mafi is an excellent writer and really knows how to captivate her audience, but I was certainly reminded. He has a heart of ice, but for her, he would burn down the world. Alec Volkov is the devil with the face of an angel, cursed with a past he can't escape. He's driven by the tragedy that has haunted him for years, but that is all uprooted when he's asked to look after his best friend's sister, and he starts to feel something. Ava Chan is a free spirit, but trapped by the nightmares of her childhood that she can't remember. But despite her broken past, she's never stopped seeing the beauty in the world, and that includes Alec Volkov. I listened to Twisted Love also while working this weekend, and my boss recommended it. And the half of TikTok, of course. I will say it's not completely my cup of tea. I knew what I got into. I liked it for what it is, which was for me, a quick read to get through my working day, but I would not have picked it up otherwise, and that's simply, again, because it's not for me, but I really enjoy the quick, fun, also very serious and dark book that this is. While working, I do listen to audiobooks for like 10 hours straight, so having something to change up the genre is something I really like. So I switch up between listening to this Wolverine Kingdom and Twisted Love and this next book, because the next book I listened to was the 12-week year, which is something completely different and almost kind of self-help-ish. Very different, and again, a very good palate cleanser. I really liked aspects of this book and the way it saw and looked at motivation and goal setting and how to structure your life after this. There's also some parts that was very old-ish in its approach to self-help and things I would not follow as a guide or a helpful advice. But again, if you look at it with a grain of salt, there's some really cool, very helpful parts of this book, so I would recommend it if you do like self-help or how to optimize looking at motivation and goal setting. I had another work weekend, so I listened to Twisted Games, the second book in the series, and I've not completely finished it, and again, my boss recommended it, said I should keep reading this series, so I did, because I am very impressionable when it comes to what books to listen to while working, and so far so very good, at least for a palate cleanser for me, and just to listen to something else and to see what other people are listening to. I also listened to a lot of podcasts this working weekend. I listened to the Colin and Samir show, I listened to Happier in Hollywood, and I listened to the Call Her Daddy episode with Katy Perry. I really recommend the Colin and Samir show and Happier in Hollywood if you don't know these two shows. I've been listening to them for years and years. The Colin and Samir show, they take a closer look with influencers or YouTubers on YouTube, the internet, and how to be interneting. Not a verb, but you know what I mean. Then we have Happier in Hollywood, which is Liz and Sarah's podcast about working, living, and writing in Hollywood. I really like to follow this because they are very cool ladies, and I just like really to get this look into the world of Hollywood and how they work there and what they do, what they get up to. So that's just such a fun listen. Please share if you want me to continue sharing like podcast episodes, or we should just keep it to books and films and series, because I'm not really sure yet. Ride Like a Girl is about Michelle Payne, who is the first female jockey to win the Melbourne Cup. And if you don't know what that means, is horse girl lingo, and that's really why I watch it. I really like watching movies with horses or just sports movies based on real people. This movie is exactly that. It wasn't like the best movie I've watched, but it was a really good watch. And some of those shots in this movie was really beautiful, and that was enough for me. So again, if you need a movie to wind down to or really like stories based on real people or real events, you should watch this or definitely check it out.
Japan. So we get to be here and do talks like this tonight. So.
And my homework got into camp.
Yes.
And when that happened, I think it's just for a film. Sometimes it's.
I'm actually hoping to get a job.
So I went to this talk with Ronaldo Marcus Green and Poulter. That was like, it was not the plan. It's only because I got an email newsletter that I saw that this event was happening. So what do I do if I don't get these emails? Like, how many cool events or things do I miss because because I'm not signed up to these newsletters? That's something I think about often. But wow, what a fun night. I will say there was a lot of miscommunication about how this event was going to take place, and it ended up being okay, but there was a lot of waiting time, not because the guys were late, but simply because we were told that the event started at 5 and they opened the door at 5. But Green and Poulter went on stage, it's like 8. So that was 3 hours to walk around Noma, and that was cool, but I will not say I needed 3 hours to do that. So I was very happy when the talk itself started. It was moderated by and Lynn, who is a Danish movie critic who I really love and love to follow on Instagram. So to see her moderate, that was also really cool and part of like the whole event deal why I really wanted to go. But wow, what a night. The event was Heartland at Noma, which Heartland is a music and arts festival in Denmark, and they had decided to do events during the fall this year at Noma because Noma is in Japan. And I really like that setup, and I think the idea is very nice to keep like the talk and like the momentum going from this festival. The evening was marketed as like Green and Poulter talking about their favorite films with Anne Lynn, and I just really liked that concept. I know it's very letterbox-ish and it's very low-key. I will say it could have been very nice if they showed like clips from the movies that they really liked or wanted to talk about. Instead we just saw YouTube trailers on a very big flat screen TV. I wrote down the movies that they mentioned, so I will have them here for you guys so you can go check them out as well if there's some of them you want to watch. So all in all, this was a director and an actor talking about their favorite movies with a lot of people who care about movies for 2 hours, and that's just truly down my alley. I could do this every Friday night. Because I'm moving around a lot this year, I could sadly not get my hands on my We Are the Millers DVD because I really wanted Will to sign it. But I have this cheeky little photo of me with them and with my new friend Laura, who's also named Laura, that I met there, and I hung out with her and her mother again because the waiting time was so long. That's everything I saw, read and listened to this last month. I hope you enjoyed this style of video, and just a big YouTube hug to you guys, and thank you so much for watching.